Going in about 5 seconds, I reckon. Welcome to Feagan and Finch, the podcast where we discuss everything football related. I'm Alex Finch.
And I'm Ryan Feagan. Let's talk football.
Let's talk football. So the next podcast, a live podcast. Of course, we only do live podcasts now. We're going to do a big one. So the season's underway, well underway. We've had a fair amount of games in the Premier League, 7 games in, and we think it's time to give our season predictions. So in this podcast, it's all about giving the season predictions. Who's going to win the Premier League? Who's going to get relegated? Who's going to win the Championship? Who's going to get relegated? We're going to be looking at the Premier League, the Championship. We're even going to throw in there the Europa League and Champions League. And we might even have a little detour to League One, because League One is exciting this year. There's a lot.
It's tasty, man. It is tasty.
Let's do it. So where do we kick off? Do we go right to the top and go straight to the Premier League? Is that the way to start?
I think that would be the way to start, Finch. You know, they've got the best league in the world. There is really no better place to start than that. And I'm just going to kick things off right now. Chelsea, Premier League champions, 2020, 2021. It's coming home, mate.
Bring it over.
All seriousness, no, I do not think Chelsea will be Premier League champions. I think we'll be up there. I think we'll definitely make top 4. This season, I think, honestly, with stuff that's happened already in the season and with injuries that Liverpool have had, I personally don't think Liverpool will retain the title. I think Man City are going to win the league.
Ooh.
I don't think it will be very, one side of the table. I don't think they'll run away with it, whatnot. Because honestly, I don't think City are really half as good as what they were a couple of years back when they had that Centurion season. They're not scoring as many goals. They're getting really sort of 1-0 wins, but they're still winning. That's the thing, Finch. They're still winning. I think that is, a sign of a champion. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So when you say still winning, it's still below in terms of the amount of points they've got. They're 10th. I know they've got a game in hand, but still that would only bring them up to 4th.
Whether you win 4-0 or 1-0, it's still 3 points at the end of the day. So I think come the end of the season, it will be Man City on top. I think second place, this may surprise you, I think Spurs will be second. I think Liverpool will be third. And I think Chelsea will be fourth. That's my top 4.
That's bold. See, for me, I've found it's quite hard to get a top 4 because this season's been so crazy. You had results like 5-2 Leicester against City. You had obviously Liverpool's big 7-2 loss to Villa. Absolutely crazy. And people forget in that loss, Van Dijk was there. It's not like Van Dijk wasn't there. Van Dijk was there. He wasn't injured then. So that was when Van Dijk was actually at Liverpool. So you can't put it down to him not playing that game. So it's quite hard. And the thing is, like you said, like Liverpool defensive troubles maybe now with the injury to Van Dijk. And I do think it's going to be huge. And I think Liverpool, if they had Van Dijk, I think they would have run around the title, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think City aren't the level they were at before. I think Liverpool with Van Dijk are by far the most solid proposition in the Premier League because he's such a leader. He makes such a big impact on that team. And without Van Dijk, it makes things a bit more interesting. But then again, I had to think about City. And City are actually the betting favourite for the league. Liverpool are second. I had a little look, which I found quite surprising. But City also, I don't think, are a team which can run away with the league because when we looked at their team 2 years ago, it's completely different. The way they played was so much better. The team was so much smoother. Their front three
were better players back then, Finch.
Sane, Aguero. Now it's just really Sterling left because Aguero is unfit a lot of time. He's injured a lot of time. I don't think he'll have a full season this year. He seems just to be always off the pitch at the moment. So really, most of the time will be Sterling, Mahrez, and Jesus. So I don't think Jesus is the same class as Aguero. He's a very good player, but it's not the same class. And then at the back, they still don't look. They brought in Diaz, but they still don't look the solid proposition they used to be at the back either. Laporte, absolutely incredible player, but left back is still really a bit of an issue for them, in my opinion. Cancelo's playing at the time at left back, is right-footed, very good player, but is he a left back? Maybe not. Diaz, very good player, but I think it will take him a few years to step up and get into that team. I think they need to make a signing like him, but if they wanted to make a big immediate statement, it would have had to be in probably Koulibaly to do that, and he probably would have pushed them towards running away with the league, in my opinion. But for that reason, I found it really hard. And to be honest, I think Tottenham have a good chance this year if they put themselves together, because Liverpool and City aren't going to be the propositions they have been in the past, just because City, as the reason I said before, they haven't got the same players. And I didn't even talk about David Silva there. And they aren't. The players they do have maybe aren't at their peaks like they used to be, bar Sterling, and a few others. And De Bruyne is still obviously in his peak as well. But Aguero, not so much. And the likes of Kyle Walker, maybe aging a little bit more. Although Kyle Walker's probably had his best start to the season ever, so I take that back. And Liverpool,
he's looking the real deal again this season. Yeah. He's looking fantastic.
Yeah, and Liverpool, as I said before, that Van Dijk injury, but although they've looked quite good recently, to be honest, and they've been doing like you said with Man City, they've been doing what title winners do. They've been grinding out results, 2-1 wins, and last 2 games, 2-1 wins, getting winners in the 80 plus minutes. And Jota has actually been a very good signing.
Oh, he's been fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Potentially, arguably definitely in the top 5 best signings. This season so far in terms of his impact. He's scored in the last 4 games with Liverpool. Been absolutely.
He scored a hat-trick last night.
Very, very good signing. So he's definitely added some firepower up front, which they need. They need that extra player, and maybe he'll come into place for Firmino. But I'm unsure who out of Liverpool and Man City who will come out on top. And I'm going to say it right here. I think Tottenham are going to finish. I can't believe I'm saying it. I think Tottenham could finish top of the league. So my season prediction.
Really?
I'm going to put Tottenham top. And the reason I'm doing this is because, as I said before, Liverpool and Man City aren't teams they were before. And if Tottenham, there's a big if. So I'm only doing this in a big if. If Tottenham keep Harry Kane, Son, and Bale, more so Harry Kane and Son fit for the whole season, I can see them being right up there with Man City and Liverpool.
Yeah.
And marginally, just having that little bit more, maybe if they keep those 2 fit, and I think that's the key. If they keep those 2 fit, they'll be a very good team, because now they've gelled a few games in. It did take them a while. At the start, they looked awful against Everton. But when they've gelled, they looked really good. They looked amazing against Man United in that big win. And as a team, that they've gelled so well. I know they've had a couple of little hiccups. When I say hiccups, they've mainly been teams scoring last-minute goals against them or that kind of thing against West Ham. But if they do come together, they have a solid chance. That's a big if Kane and Son do stay fit. I know the signings they've made is probably put in this place. Regulon's been absolutely amazing as a left-back. Højbjerg, surprisingly, who
he's been fantastic.
Not a great player, but he suits the system at Tottenham perfectly. And Southampton fans are all saying, why didn't he play like this for our club? But
and Ndombele, mate. And Ndombele looks like a new signing.
Yeah, and Ndombele's been one of the best midfielders this year. So it's difficult.
That's why I've got them second, Finch. They look the real deal. However, we got to remember this is Spurs. So
is it Mourinho? That's the difference. The difference is now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I have them second. They have Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho is still one of the best managers in the world, one of the greatest of all time. I feel like next year they could really be title contenders. This year, I think they'll just miss out.
Yeah,
that's why I think they'll finish above Liverpool. But for me, Man City's squad depth is really scary. Like they've still got a fantastic squad depth. Gabriel Jesus
not in defense now.
Not in defense, no. But they
and what
have
about
a lot of players who can score goals. Top 3.
Yeah, they're top 3. There's depth, but if we compare their top three to Liverpool's top three, there's no argument there, is there?
Sterling, Jesus, Mahrez.
Yeah, because they're going to be the front three, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
Then you compare that to players like Jota, let's say Jota, Mane, and Salah. Is you can't really argue with the levels there, just because of what they've done in the past. But I think that's what I would say, in my opinion. If Kane and Son don't stay fit, that's the key, because I think those two are the two key players. If they don't stay fit, then I can see I'd probably favour Liverpool a little bit more, just because the amount of goals they score. I think they're going to concede a lot this season, to be honest. I think they've already conceded 15 goals, but I think the amount that they will score will even it out. And I think if they keep Henderson and Thiago fit, particularly midfield, that will solidify them a lot more, because Thiago, he can win the league for Liverpool. Is that good?
Thiago is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Stays fit.
If he stays fit, if Thiago, honestly, if Thiago was injured alongside Van Dijk, then I don't think Liverpool would get top four. That's how important I think Thiago is to that team, and how important Van Dijk is to that team. Obviously, they're absolutely fantastic with Mane, Salah, Firmino, Wijnaldum. They've got fantastic fullbacks. But I think Thiago is a really, honestly, one of the best midfielders in the world right now. Van Dijk, obviously, best defender in the world. They're going to be missed hugely at the back. They have conceded quite a few goals already, Finch. Even with Van Dijk, they conceded 7. So there is problems there. There's still problems there. I think, what was it, their second clean sheet of the season last night against Atalanta?
But you also got to remember, last year, they had the second and third biggest assisters who were just the defenders. The left and right back got 24 assists between them. They got, between those two, they got more assists than Sterling, Mahrez, Aguero, Jesus combined, which is a crazy stat.
That is mental.
They're just two fullbacks, and that's what Liverpool. Liverpool have those two fullbacks who will always assist their front three, and as long as that happens, they'll always have a chance. But just because the amount of their goals are going to score, they're always going to score goals. And I think it's going to be interesting. I think Sunday's game, maybe we're a bit premature in doing this, which probably makes it more interesting doing it now.
We got
Man
City, Liverpool on Sunday.
It's going to reveal a lot, because if one team looks far superior, because we really don't know too much about the teams at the moment. Both teams are in transition, with Liverpool without Van Dijk, Man City. They just don't look themselves. They look completely different team to what they used to be. Still a very good team, but nowhere near the levels they used to be. So I think Sunday will probably tell us a lot more in terms of the two teams and two lineups. But I think for Liverpool, as I said before, I know they've lost Van Dijk, but I think the key in that period was not actually Van Dijk. It was Alisson being injured. When Adrian was in goal, they looked
Adrian was awful.
And honestly, I would say Van Dijk, I thought, was their most important player, but now I think it's
Alisson.
Maybe it was Alisson, because during that period, Liverpool, when they lost a few games, Van Dijk was there, and let's be honest, that they looked awful, and Adrian was in goal, and he's probably going. But I thought he was all right at the beginning when he came to Liverpool, but he's been a championship goalie this season, and end of last season, he's been awful. It's like watching Karius again for them, and he made so many mistakes. And obviously, defence aren't confident. When Alisson's there, they're a lot more confident. They look a different proposition, and that's probably why. Then the players like Reece Williams have come in at centre back. Maybe that's why I've looked a bit more solid. Not because he's replacing Van Dijk, because Alisson's there.
Well, half of them goals that they conceded against Aston Villa, I'd say, were Adrian's fault. He was absolutely shocking that game. Absolutely shocking. He was, he was shocking against Liverpool. But now Alisson's back, they do seem to not concede as many goals, obviously, but they still have conceded goals. So they are missing Van Dijk, clearly. But I think you are right in what you're saying. I think they have missed Alisson a lot more.
Yeah.
They have. So if they got to keep Alisson fit as well then. Keep Alisson fit, and I still say they're top three, man. I don't think they're going to win. They're going to win it. I really don't.
Remember how good Thiago is. Thiago being fit for Bayern Munich was probably Bayern's second, one of their top three players last year, along with Kimmich and Lewandowski. And he helped them win the Champions League and won everything with it. He's probably only De Bruyne who's maybe better than him as a midfielder in the league overall as a player. And Liverpool didn't have that player before. Obviously, Man City have De Bruyne. De Bruyne is the reason, if they do win the league, it's probably the reason they do it, because everything will be going for him. Liverpool have never had that type of midfielder. So people are sort of, and Thiago's hardly played with Liverpool, so you haven't really seen the impact yet. And people know what De Bruyne gives to Man City and know how much he'll push Len, but people haven't really considered the impact of Thiago yet. At Liverpool, they're taking out the impact of Van Dijk going, but they haven't considered the plus impact of Thiago being there. So he's adding something to what they haven't had before, and you've got to consider that for Liverpool. They have a big minus next to their name because of Van Dijk, and people saying they're not going to win the league because of him. But they haven't considered the big plus which is coming into the picture of Thiago, which they've never had before. So people don't know the impact of what Thiago is going to do to them because they've never had that type of player before. And he, in my opinion, if he plays like he can and is fit and plays over 30 games this year, then or plays 30 games, let's say, then he can. He's that good. He can inspire Liverpool to the league.
They can retain a title, really.
But that shows it's more down to his quality. And it's dependent.
But he is very injury prone. He's very injury prone.
Definitely.
It's not often that he finishes a full season.
That's why I said 30 games would be perfect for him. And I guess it would.
Yeah.
It's not even been injuries, is it? It's been COVID, which has caused him to miss games this year. And I think they left him out on Sunday or last weekend even, and the Champions League game, so he can play this Sunday. I think they're prioritising him playing that game. To know how big it is, but by the sounds of it, we're both sort of leaning towards a team, but we're not completely certain. We don't completely know, and that shows that the Premier League is more open this year. I'm pretty sure after 5-10 games last year, everyone knew Liverpool were going to win it. They were so much superior. Same with the season before. I know Liverpool pushed City a lot, but it was pretty much clear that City were going to win that. But I guess my prediction would be. So I'm putting it out there now. It's very, very risky. It would be Spurs first if Kane and Son stay fit. And I'm saying Spurs first, which is weird. But I look at Spurs now as the Mourinho team, which is completely different to Spurs in history gone by. And Mourinho, it seems like it's more met than ever to prove his critics wrong, because he's got a lot of critics at the moment. And I'm putting them just top. Then I'm putting Liverpool in there as second.
Ooh.
But I think it's going to be very close, them and City. And City third.
Yep.
I think the top three are going to be inseparable. I think that's going to be the top three this season. I don't know how it's going to look. It probably will move around a bit. I'm probably not going to be 100% correct. But I think they're going to be the top three. And I think you said the same thing. That's going to be the top three.
I think that'll be a top three. We just got teams the different way around completely.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be extremely close. I think it's going to be 10 points at most between those three teams.
Yep.
And then fourth,
it won't be a lot.
Yeah, fourth Chelsea.
Yep.
I think Chelsea will be a few points behind the rest of the pack, but also a fair few points, probably a comfortable position ahead of Arsenal, which I'll probably put in fifth place, around Arsenal, Everton.
I put Arsenal fifth. I put United, Everton to finish outside top six. Actually, I think Wolves are going to. Leicester and Wolves.
Oh, sorry, I left out Leicester.
For that top six.
Leicester, I'd put a sixth place. Sorry, I left them out. What a big mistake there. Leicester have done unbelievable by this. They could get fifth, because they've had a crazy amount of injuries this year, and they're still in second place. They've had Ricardo Pereira be injured. They've only got Maddison coming back really now to their team.
Yep.
They're
doing fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
And they're looking at a very solid proposition as they always do. They've made some good signings we've talked about in previous podcasts, with Castagna, obviously, Fofana, looking a very good signing. So I think we've definitely got to put them in the top six. But in my opinion, I'd probably put them in sixth or fifth place, depending on how Arsenal do.
Yeah.
But Everton, I think most people were like, "Oh God, what an amazing start for Everton!" But you saw their lack of depth when Hammers got injured.
Mate. Without James and Richarlison, I think Everton are just that mid-table team, man. They lack that creativity. They've got a fantastic midfield now. Don't get me wrong. The defense is still lacking a bit, clearly. And Pickford in there, he's such a liability. Such a liability. He's always going to cost you points. They need to upgrade on that keeper. And then we will see what Everton can really do next season after they get a keeper. As soon as they replace Pickford, they will flourish, in my opinion.
Yeah. And you saw that Ancelotti is clearly fed up with him because he dropped in the weekend. And Pickford, to be honest, was lucky the week before. The week before that, against, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago against Liverpool, where he made that awful mistake right at the end. He looked awful throughout, to be honest. It doesn't. Some of the games, most of the games he's in. I would say he looks good in the ball, looks very confident, and then he makes an error. It's been very error prone recently. And that last game against Liverpool, he was so lucky at the end. He got away with that. That Henderson shot was a decent shot, but it was basically
how he fumbled that into the net. How he fumbled
awful. And it was that people obviously talked all about the VAR after the game. He was lucky everyone talked about that and not his awful goalkeeping, because I think most people agreed that was probably an awful VAR decision. A lot of people liked it because anti-Liverpool, but people for the good of the game, they did think it was a bad decision.
It wasn't awful,
because there's no angle where you can see he's offside. He was definitely. Well, I think everyone agreed that he was level. All the pundits, even the Everton ones. Well, I'll take it, but he was. I don't see how they can give that. But because of that meant Pickford's exploits weren't considered, and he got away with it. Is very, very lucky. I think a goalkeeper of Pickford's quality isn't what Everton need to push him forward. I've given him more chances than most people. I've been a big Pickford fan, but I think after seeing the amount of errors he's made, it's probably
enough is enough.
But again, he could come back. Maybe if they drop him for a few months, it might do the world of good for him. You don't know. I remember there's been goalkeepers in the past who've started off well. He did have a good start to his career, and then maybe he needs a break. There's been goalkeepers like that in the past. Like De Gea, for example, he went for an awful period, and now he seems to have come back and is nearly back to his best, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You went with
speaking of that. Yes, speaking of De Gea, man, we got Man United who just look absolutely shocking this season. So, me and Finch, we spoke a lot about what's wrong with United, how to fix Man United in the past. We won't drone on too much about this, but that summer window really messed up. They really, really messed up. And they're paying for it now. They are paying for it. Is this what it's going to take for, the owners to see what they're doing to the club and finally leave, or to finally give the money? Well, I say finally give the money. I've spent a lot of money, but I mean, to actually make signings that United need to make. They did not need Donny van de Beek whatsoever, at all. They didn't need to sign Edison Cavani. They didn't even need to extend Odion Igalo's contract, really. He's on 180 grand a week or some crazy nonsense like that, and he doesn't even play. 180 grand a week. That's insane money. That's over 6 million a year.
They're just inconsistent.
Add that to your transfer funds. It's so stupid, such stupid business from United, and it's going to cost them at the end of the day. They've got a very poor defence, one of the worst defences, I think, in the league. When you look at the quality of the players in the Premier League in this day, I think United have one of the worst defences. And they're being found out. Harry Maguire, we're talking about Pickford being a liability. Harry Maguire has been awful this season. Absolutely awful. Luke Shaw just hasn't got it anymore, not since that leg break. Wan-Bissaka, Wan-Bissaka's probably one of their best defenders. Fantastic at tackling, but I don't know. I think he gets caught out quite easily. I think he's quite clumsy. Lindelof, also another one who can get caught out. When you look at their depth, they got rid of Chris Smalling, who's been brilliant from what I hear, out in Syria. Maybe should have kept him. Phil Jones, need I say more? Marcus Rojo, don't know where he's gone, whether he's still even at United. Apparently, I think he is still at United, but he's not doing anything. Tuan Zabi, he had a good game against PSG. Did not have a good game tonight in their loss to Istanbul, Bahakshir. And then you've also got Fosu Mensah. I mean,
I think
the depth is not there.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think they got one of the worst defences in the league, which shouldn't happen when the defence is worth combined 200 million. I think. Right? Maguire 75, Wan-Bissaka 50, Taylor's 18, Shaw 30, Lindelof 30.
50.
That's
30,
over
30 something. Yeah,
that's over 200. I do think, to be honest, I think Maguire is a very, very good defender, and I think last season he did improve their defence by miles. But I just think this year he's been absolutely atrocious because his mind's clearly off the pitch on this thing which happened in the late summer. Well, obviously, the details we don't completely know, but obviously it's a bad situation to happen where he ended up being arrested, and there's lots of lies which had gone on apparently, and he was arrested for the wrong reasons, and he did that big heartfelt interview. But I just think his mind's off the pitch, which is probably not. This is not all his fault because you can't really help it. Your mind being off the pitch, your focus not being there after such a big thing happened in your life where his whole family almost got kidnapped. It seems like his sister got kidnapped and all stuff which went on like that, and everything was in the press. You can sort of understand why his head's not been in the right space. May not clearly haven't managed the situation right either, and maybe he should be given some time off. And the situation, maybe they've got to bring it to a head. Obviously, I think they've got a court date still upcoming, so that's why his mind must still be on it because it's not sorted, that issue. So I think until that issue is sorted, his mind can't go back to the pitch. So I don't think Maguire is going to be a useful player for United, and until that happens, I think it's going to be a liability until. But overall, I think it's different to Pickford because overall, I still think he's a very good player. I think it's just the reason why he's not going to be performing at the moment. I can't see him be performing until that issue is sorted. But overall, like you said before, Man United, the awful summer. They did what they did a few years ago. Mourinho, they just didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for what he needed. And when you don't back the manager, you send it every club when they don't back the manager. The results aren't there on the pitch. You don't give Solskjaer the player he wanted in terms of Sancho. He's not going to be able to perform the strategy he wanted. He's had to play players out of position. It's Greenwood on the wing. He's had to play different system, play Daniel James more. It's not suited United. They haven't got the depth, and overall, they don't look a proposition which is going to get the top four. They're going to get the odd really good win, like against PSG, because they have quality players like Fernandes, Pogba, Rashford. Rashford can do it on his day. Martial, but they're not a team which are going to consistently produce results because they don't have the depth. They don't have the spine of an amazing team. They have a team which can really perform on the odd occasion and beat the biggest and best out there just because of the quality they've got in it, but they won't do that consistently. So, like you said, I can see 7th or 8th or 9th for them. Really, I can see them as, to be honest.
Their worst finish. Yeah, I reckon I can see that happen.
And they'll go set Solskjaer, and there'll be another manager come in. The same thing happen. Probably Pochettino, and then he'll start off really well. They probably won't. If Wood was still there, they'd probably back him at the start, and then long term went back, and the whole cycle will begin again.
Yeah, that's exactly it, mate. Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, Solskjaer, Pochettino, and then whoever else. It's just a downward spiral. It's a bad time to be a Man United fan. Let me tell you.
Definitely. It's weird when you think about it because looking, we've both said Tottenham. I've said Tottenham are going to nick it, which is crazy, and you said Tottenham second. And Mourinho was at a club United a few years ago, and people thought it was the end for him. And now we're saying he's going to be at a club which finishes top 2, and his club he left is going to be 10th or 9th or 8th. Yeah. Which is quite crazy.
It's crazy how the Premier League can work, man. That's why it's the most entertaining league because there's so much drama. It's absolutely fantastic. And mate, if United don't, if they don't turn this around, they couldn't get relegated.
They are 15th. They're only a few points off.
But I reckon the relegated teams. I think two of them pretty much. Well, if you're saying that, then I think three of them are pretty much certain, and I'd say Fulham, West Brom, and Burnley.
Hmm.
For the simple reason why we said about how Man City, Liverpool, Spurs, they can all finish so high, but the reason why these are going to finish so low is depth. They have no depth whatsoever. Like, they have good, like, above average championship teams. I'll say that their squads aren't Premier League level. But I don't know what's happened at Burnley. I don't know what's going on there. They used to be a fantastic little team.
Didn't make any signings. That's
Yeah.
the thing. They just didn't make enough signings. I think they
didn't make no signings, and they didn't renew contracts.
One of the best players, Jeff Hendrick, went in. They brought in Dale Stevens. I think that's about it. They bring in anyone else? Probably not.
Absolutely mental, mate. Burnley as well. A fantastic team that used to take points away from big teams. Used to be a tough away day, but now I can't see them finishing any higher than 18th.
Yeah.
I think it will be Fulham, West Brom, and Burnley. And because I can't see Brighton go. I think Brighton are pretty much an established Premier League team now. I can't see Leeds going down just because I think Leeds face a fantastic football. They have quality in that team that's too good for the Championship, and I think can settle in the Premier League. And Aston Villa, I think, have that squad now where they've got a fantastic goalkeeper, Emilio Martinez, absolutely fantastic. Jack Grealish having one of the seasons of his life already. You've got a good goal scorer in Ollie Watkins. A fantastic midfielder in Ross Barkley. What on earth has happened to him? I think Aston Villa are looking for about mid-table. Same for Newcastle. So I think we're both sort of agreed on.
But I'm actually going to go a little bit different here. So Burnley, I think we're definitely going to go down. I think Sheffield United are going to be the second team to go down. Only on 1 point after 7 games. I think the problem they've had last season, they were absolutely outstanding, kept the same group of players from the Championship going up. Is that they've had a very similar sort of story to Ipswich back in 2000 when Ipswich went up. They kept the same core team. Ipswich didn't make hardly any signings and did a crazy good in the Premier League. They came 5th in the Premier League in 2001, and Sheffield United did something very close last year. Had an amazing top 10 finish. Did something crazy in terms of beating a lot of the top teams. Did a lot better than anyone could have imagined they did. But then they seem to repeat the same mistakes Ipswich did the summer after. They signed quite a few players. They made quite a few signings, and they brought in Brewster for mega money, unproven player. They needed a proven goal scorer, really. That's what they needed. Brought in Brewster, who's got a few goals for Swansea, but that's always done in professional football. And when I say professional, I know he's done a lot in the youth level, but in terms of professional 11-a-side English football, it's just a few goals for Swansea in the second division. They brought in Ramsdale to replace Henderson, and Ramsdale, good goalkeeper, not the same level as Henderson. They brought in a few other players around, like Ollie Burke, Max Lowe, Jaden Bogle. And they brought in these players, and Ampadu as well. They brought in a lot of these players. They're playing a lot of them. And this disrupted their team from last year. They kept the same kind of team for the last few years. Henderson was there for a few years, for example, as goalkeeper. And even one small change, like changing the goalkeeper, we see it with Liverpool with Adrian, makes a huge difference. The defence is completely different. It seems completely different because they don't have the same person behind them. They don't have the same person yelling out the orders as they always do. So it's just taking that one little piece out of the jigsaw. It changes everything quite a bit. And I think because last year they had such a good team spirit, everyone seemed to work together. They weren't overall Sheffield United. They're a team full of good players, not a team full of amazing players. The reason they did so well is because they all gelled together so well. But taking out a few of those players, it changes their team completely. The reason they did so well, as I said before, last year is because every player worked well with the other player. So, if we're talking FIFA, it's green all round. All the links are green.
Yep.
Whereas now, they're not, because you brought in a few different players. So not having what their best asset was last year in terms of every player knowing what the other player does and every player gelling 100%, not having that this year, they're a completely different proposition. Because individually, they aren't good enough to stay in the Premier League. It's together. Last year, they were good enough to do amazing things. That's why I think they'll go down.
Do you think Sheffield United go?
The third team, I think Fulham are in trouble. I think Fulham will be there all the way, just because it seems very, very similar to a few years ago where they signed a lot of players They have overall really, really good talented players, but will they gel? You don't know. But from what I've seen, I think they might just be able to stay up. To be honest, because that's a very big shout. But I think some of their players seem to be gelling at the moment, and I'm going to say I think they will just finish outside of the relegation zone. I think Scott Parker's instilled such a good mentality in the team. I think he's going to be an outstanding manager overall. And last few results they've had haven't been too bad. They beat West Brom on the weekend, and they seem to be playing some good football. Mitrovic obviously having the goal scorer that differentiates them to a lot of the teams back at the bottom. Lookman seems to be an inspired signing. He seems to be in really good form. They still have players like Loftus-Cheek to come in. They have Carney, Bobby Reed seems to be very good. Even Lamina seems to be gelling a little bit more. So I can see Fulham as a team being able to stay up just because of what I've seen in the last few games, really, in terms of beating West Brom. I know they lost to Crystal Palace, had a red card in that, but then also drawing against Sheffield United. All the games they've lost this year, they've been very close games. Like Wolves, they lost 1-0 to Wolves. So I do think it's going to be close there, but I do think Fulham will stay up. And the team I'm going to say which is going to go down, which is going to be quite controversial, is Leeds.
You're picking West Brom and Sheffield United.
It's very controversial.
Sheffield United to go down. Leeds to go. What the hell?
They're very controversial. West Brom, the reason I'm picking them to stay up, short and sweet for that. Slaven Bilic, I think Premier League manager, knows the Premier League well, will keep them up. Premier League manager, very good manager. So all down to him, really. The reason I'm saying Leeds is because they remind me of Hull a few years ago, having a really good start to a Premier League campaign, but I can just see them running out of steam. I can just see Leeds running out of steam. Because again, they're a team which has some really good players, but I'm not completely sure. Like when I watched them against Leicester, and they lost 4-1, they just collapsed, and I can see them collapsing quite a lot this season. I can see Bamford had a very good start to the season, but I don't think is the standard of quality they need up front. When you compare it to Ollie Watkins, compare it to Mitrovic, they're far superior players in teams around the relegation zone. They haven't made standout signings to push them this year. They've made a few, but are they going to keep them up? I'm unsure. Robert Koch, is he going to keep them up? I'm unsure. I think they got Jack Harrison for another season on loan. Again, good in his day, but will he really keep them up? I'm unsure. So I just can see Leeds playing some good football, but being the team like Hull a few years ago, where they start the season really well, or Blackburn 10 odd years ago, they start the season really well and then just tail off and run out of steam just because they're playing the same 11 every week because they don't have the depth and they just can't power through. I think teams are going to get used to their style as well. And Leeds, I know they got promoted last year playing outstanding football, but they do have a tendency to run out of steam near the end of the year. The year before last, they were playing outstanding football, top of the championship for ages. Then suddenly hit a block and lost loads of games and didn't get promoted after that. So it's a big shout, but if they do get relegated, it's going to be close, and I think they'll finish third from bottom. But I think Sheffield United and Burnley are my two teams, which I think are dead certain to go down.
Controversial, Finchy. We love it here. Well, man, I can't wait to revisit this podcast in February time and see how right we are, because that is going to be something special.
Definitely.
Oh man, I think we're in for a few shocks this season. We're in for a few shocks. Do you want to move on to the Champions League then?
Yeah, I think just before we move on to Champions League, I heard a rumour you're going to make a little prediction about the top scorer in the Premier League.
Oh yeah. You know what, mate? I completely forgot about that. I was absolutely bamboozled by the fact that you think Sheffield United and Leeds are going to go down over Fulham and West Brom. I cannot believe that.
Leeds is the big shout. I think Sheffield United, you got to admit they're in for battle.
Oh, mate, I said this before the season started. I said that Sheffield United won't have the season that they had, like they did last season. They will no way they'll repeat that. But I do think they have. I do think they have some quality in their team. Like I think they'll grind out some wins. I feel like
they need to. They're on 1 point.
Yeah, I think not getting rid of Henderson, but not making Henderson a permanent deal was a mistake. Probably not something that they didn't want to do, of course. But signing Ramsdale when there's other keepers out there who are way more experienced, like go for Sergio Romero, trying to get a repeat of Dean Henderson by signing another young English keeper in Aaron Ramsdale, it's not going to work. I feel like the keeper is another one who's going to
get Martinez.
Martinez.
Great
signing. Dude, buy Begovic from Bournemouth.
Not Begovic.
It's like, there's options, or a Bart from Millwall.
Yeah.
There's options out there, man. There's options out there. There's always options out there, and but sometimes you don't always pick the right option. And I don't think they picked the right option in Ramsdale. But I still think they'll stay up. I think Leeds and Sheffield United will finish sort of 15th, 16th together retrospectively.
But top scorer, to come back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to come back. But for me, top scorer, there's a lot of talent
let's throw a little bit of background though. So we've got Son, 8 goals. We've got Calvert-Lewin, 8 goals. We've got Vardy, 7 goals. Salah, 7 goals. Kane, 6 goals. And the crazy stat here, only one out of the top 5 I just mentioned, the top 5 goal scorers after 7 games this year, only one of them was in that top 5 last year. Do you know which one?
Salah.
Salah, yeah, you're correct. Salah was in the top 5 at this stage last year. He's the only one.
Yep.
It's crazy.
That's what I mean. There's a lot of talent, man, and they've got a lot of goals already. To come to think about it, I don't think Calvert-Lewin will be up there. I'll be honest with you now. I don't think he'll be up there. I think he'll dip, honestly, after Christmas. I think Son this season might be up there. He's having some really good link-up play with Harry Kane. Obviously, Salah is going to be up there. Aubameyang maybe. Aubameyang seems to be playing out on the wing a lot more these days. So maybe not him. I still think he'll get 15 plus goals, but I don't think he'll be within the top 3. Top 3, I'm going to... On what, sorry? Yeah, he's not on many. He's not on many. He's playing him left wing, you see.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Timo Werner.
What, a third?
Because Timo Werner is now Chelsea's penalty taker, if you didn't know.
He's on 3rd place, you reckon?
Yep. Well, I'm not going in any particular order.
You got to say an order. You got to put an order in it.
I'll say top scorer at the end. So top 3 though: Timo Werner, Raul Jimenez, and Jamie Vardy. And top scorer out of them, I'm going to say Jamie Vardy, man. He just bangs goals in so, for fun. He's so clinical. And the guy doesn't get tired. This seems to me the guy does not get tired whatsoever. So I think Vardy, Werner, then Jimenez. All penalty takers.
Salah penalty taker, not including Salah?
No, I'm not including Mo Salah because they've got Sadio Mane, Diogo Jota, and Firmino. I think they got Trent who takes free kicks. They'll get goals from other. Yeah, penalty taker, yeah, but a lot of decisions aren't going Liverpool's way this year, and I'm thinking that's going to be the same sort of pattern throughout the season. I don't think they're going to get the decisions like they did last year, so I don't think they're going to get too many penalties.
Still, that last 3 years, Salah's been top goal scorer 2 of those 3 years. It's a big shout not to include him.
Oh, he'll be up there. He'll probably be top 5, but not top 3.
Yeah.
But Jimenez, Jimenez is just a natural born goal scorer to me.
So for me, I haven't thought about this. You put a bit more thought into it. So just looking at it already, Son's already got 8 goals, and there's a big difference between. I know you said Werner's going to be on penalties, but he's on 3, and Son's on 8. There's 5 goals to make up.
Yep.
already. So it's quite a
Mhm.
big gap that. So I would. Son's obviously in the form of his life, so I was going to say I'll put him in there, but then again, he's in the form of his life. So is it down to form or is it down to his permanent class? He's an amazing player, but I think the amount of goals he's got is more to do with his form. I think he'll end up with maybe about 17, 18. And I don't think that will be top three. In terms of the top
Yep.
three, I think Salah will be in there. I think I'm not sure if he'll be top goal scorer, but I think he'll be in there just because Liverpool will always get penalties. Salah always, he seems to get the penalties himself. He's obviously got this reputation now of going down quite easily. He does go down quite easily.
Yep.
He does get the penalties at the end of the day, and he does get them. So I still think they'll get plenty of goals, and Salah seems to be in great form this year. So I'm going to put him in the top three. Also in the top three, Vardy's got to be in there. He guarantees you goals. So
Yep.
I've got to put him in there again. Penalty taker. Interestingly, Leicester put him on the bench a bit more this year, but again, he's been getting goals coming off the bench. And then completing the top three, there's plenty of players who could be completing the top three, like Raul Jimenez, like Mane,
Werner,
like Werner. But I'm not convinced Werner's going to be top goal scorer just because he's new to the league. I think he'll get 15 goals this year, which is going to be a good return. But Chelsea, I think, will share the goals around in their team. And I know you said it's on penalties, but that could change. You don't know. Jorginho's just been taken off. They could give it to Havertz, and you just don't know what will happen this year. Even Jota in his current form, we don't know. He could get plenty of goals.
Yeah, you don't know.
Really don't know, but I would have, to be honest, before the news a couple of days ago, I would have put Ings in my top three. So I think Ings.
Yeah, but Ings, he just got injured, didn't he?
Yeah, he just got injured, so he's not going to be in there. So completing my top three will actually be Harry Kane. So Harry Kane, I think, is going to stay fit this year. The last 2 years, he hasn't stayed fit, and he's still got decent goal returns, but he hasn't stayed fit. He's obviously on penalties, and that's the reason I put him ahead of Son. Yep. He's on penalties for Tottenham, and I think he's going to score tons of goals this year. I think he's going to be the top goal scorer of this league. So there was between 2015 to 2018 where he had a really good period of staying fit. He was getting 25, 29 and 30 goals. In the last 2 years, he stayed completely fit, got 17, 18 goals in the league, which is still decent returns. And for most players, that's their best return. Most strikers in the Premier League, their best returns out of any season. So it just shows how good he is. But I think he's due a season where he's completely fit. And I think of his quality, he's going to get tons of goals.
Yeah.
But the big thing with Kane staying fit. I think if Kane stays fit,
I think Kane. I think Kane or Son will be in top five along with Salah. But now I stand by my predictions, man. I stand by them. I think Jamie Vardy top goal scorer once again. Timo Werner's gonna bag a load of goals, bag a load of penalties. It's gonna be good. Trust me, man. It's gonna be good. I seriously cannot wait to come back to this in sort of February and see how many goals he's bagged for me in my fantasy team.
We'll see. I'll put him in there as well.
And strange enough, we said about Jamie Vardy getting a load of goals. Neither of us have Jamie Vardy in our fantasy team.
No. We totally don't believe it.
No.
Talking rubbish. So Champions League, who are you thinking for this?
Bayern Munich. I think they're retaining it. Bayern Munich all the way. They are so strong, and they've got even stronger with Leroy Sané. So, yeah, I'm going Bayern Munich. Like, enough said. Bayern Munich to win the Champions League again.
Ooh,
they are so good, man. They are so good. They were 2-2 right with like 10 minutes to go last night. They end up winning the game 6-2, Finch. 6-2 against Salzburg. And Salzburg ain't no easy team to beat.
I think Bayern are definitely in for a shout, but I think this Champions League, again, it's going to be very weird because most of it's going to be played behind closed doors. And I think games played behind closed doors is the reason why the Premier League's so weird this year. But again, a bit different to the Premier League because over a season, usually the best team comes out anyway. It doesn't matter if it's behind closed doors or not. In Champions League, it's knockout football. So when it's behind closed doors, weird things happen. I think there could be a few shocks this year because of the behind closed doors nature. Like we saw Man United beating PSG not too long ago. And I think there's going to be some shock results. There'll be some there's been a lot of goals so far in the Champions League. Behind closed doors, it seems like it promotes more goals. So like yesterday, Borussia Mönchengladbach getting 6 against Shakhtar. You saw obviously Bayern 6 again, Liverpool 5. I think there might be a shock in the system this year. I just have a feeling that Bayern will get far. I think Liverpool, if they do get far, I think Liverpool have the capability to get far just because they're built for that team. But if they do get far for that, they'll miss out in the Premier League and finish probably third if they get far in this competition. But I think they'll have a shout because they're built for this competition. It's just in their nature. There's other teams around. Chelsea, you don't know. Chelsea could be very good in this competition again. I think they're a team which is kind of they remind me of Liverpool a little bit. When Liverpool a couple of years ago with a lot of pace in their team with Werner.
Yeah.
And players like Havertz, players like Ziyech, which can change in a second. They're Pulisic. They're built for Champions League football again, and with the experience of Thiago Silva, I think they're probably better suited. Like Liverpool a few years ago, they're better suited to the Champions League at the moment than a Premier League in terms of winning a competition. So I think they'll be there near the end. But the team I'm probably going to favour and put forward as a very, very surprising. I'm going with surprises here. A very surprising winner. I said there's going to be surprises. I think I'm not sure exactly what team it is. So I'm just going to pick one of the teams I think could be the surprise winner. Is going to be Borussia Dortmund.
Ooh.
So this is a very, very odd shout. Very odd shout. But I think Borussia Dortmund have hardly got going in their actual domestic league this year. And I think this is going to be the year where Haaland not breaks records, but finishes. I have to take that back. But he finishes as top goal scorer in the Bundesliga. Really cements his place as a top world-class player. I think he'll do that this year. And I think he'll be a key player for Dortmund in this competition. And some weird things are going to happen this year in the Champions League. I think Dortmund could be the team to make those weird things happen. And it just needs Royce, Haaland, Sancho to really combine together. And there you go. What a front three that is. And then you've obviously got players in support for that front three, like Brands, like Dahoud, Delaney, Bellingham even. Been inspired for them so far. But the reason I'm picking Dortmund is not just down to that team. It's just that I think there's going to be a surprising winner. So it's not down to just Dortmund's individual brilliance. I think the Champions League this year will be a little bit surprising. But there are teams which I do think will get knocked down fairly easy. I can't see Juventus doing that well. I know they won 4-1 tonight, but it was against some team from Hungary, I think. So I don't
honestly, Juventus really only have Ronaldo, in my opinion. They don't really have. They have a very old team. They're a very old team.
I think PSG, they just seem to be cursed for this competition. So I'm not sure that they lost to Leipzig. They might even get a group stage at the moment. They've had 2 players sent off against Leipzig. They've lost to United and Leipzig now in the competition. So who knows if they're gonna make it through. Man City, now looking at their team, I don't think they're built for Champions League. I think they can win the Premier League if things go right for them. Because I said that top 3, which I'll put forward, one of them could win it easily. I'm not completely sure which one will do it, and I was a bit pushed to say Tottenham would do it. So I'm not completely sure on that, but I don't think they're built for Champions League football. I think their team's just not really a knockout team. You've got to be playing the football they do and win the Champions League. You've got to be playing at 100% like Barcelona used to. And I just don't think they can. But I think it's pretty open though. That's why I'll put forward.
That's a good shot, man. I'd like to see a Dortmund Bayern final again. That'd be nice. That'd be nice to see. But I just think Bayern Munich are. I did say Dortmund Bayern final. I just think Munich are too strong, too strong, man. But like you say, man, it's anyone's game. It's the Champions League for a reason. It's the group. It's the competition of champions, the best of the best. So they're all there for a reason, Finchy. They're all there for a reason.
Yeah, but I do think if it is a final between Bayern and Dortmund, I think Bayern will win it because they seem to have the beating of Dortmund every time. I think Dortmund have to face a different team in that scenario, just because
Oh, without a doubt. They
they
seem to
know
have a
each
bit
other
of
too
a
well.
phobia of Bayern for some reason. They
Yeah,
always go missing in the big
but
game.
but
I
even
don't know what it is.
yeah, looking at the Champions League this year, we're at the halfway stage in the groups, and if it continues as it is, PSG won't be in the next stage. Real
No.
Madrid are third in their group. They won't be in the next stage. Inter Milan won't be in the next stage. In Group B, we have Dortmund, not Dortmund, sorry, we have Mönchengladbach and Shakhtar Donetsk in first and second place ahead of Real Madrid and Inter Milan. It's crazy times.
That brings me on to my next group that I want to predict. However, it's a tough one because after what you just said, Finch, about PSG potentially not progressing through to the next stage, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, it could be Man United, it could be Rennes who don't go through. I don't know whether I can actually predict the Europa League yet because there's so many questions up in the air about who's already in it. Spurs, Arsenal, etc. Then you also got the teams who come down from the Champions League into that. Originally, I had said before tonight's results happened, I said Inter Milan or Spurs to win the Europa League. However, I don't think I can predict. The winner after the results from tonight.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if PSG go into it, then dude, I think PSG will walk it with Neymar, Mbappe, Icardi all fully fit. So I think it'll be I'll stick with what I said before in my notes. I'm going to put Inter Milan or Spurs just for the time being. But if a big dog like PSG or Real Madrid get knocked down, then I think that's theirs. That's theirs for the taking.
No, I agree. I think exactly the same. And I do think with Spurs, I think Spurs have a decent chance of winning it, but it completely depends how they're doing in the league. If the halfway stage,
exactly.
they're in a chance of winning
what they focus on.
Yeah, Mourinho will focus on one of them. And like Mourinho did at United when they won the Europa League, he didn't care about, he obviously did care about the league a little bit, but concentrated on the Europa League and it paid dividends.
Yep.
But I think they'll do that. If they're fourth in the league, I think they'll probably go the Europa League. He'll probably try and win that.
Yeah.
If that's the case. And I think they have a decent chance with their team. But again, it's dependent on PSG, dependent on Real Madrid, and particularly that goes into the Europa League as a third placed Champions League group team. And if that does happen, then it's hard to see any other outcome than those mega clubs winning it. And you've got to also, in terms of the clubs there at the moment, you've got to also consider AC Milan. They've started the season incredibly. They're top of Serie A with 16 points after 6 games. They're a couple of points ahead of Toulouse, which is second, weirdly enough. Juventus are third. And Zlatan has been unbelievable at 39 years old, being top goal scorer in that league, actually. And they're obviously in the Europa League as well. So they're definitely in for a shout if they continue their form. But again, if they do continue their form in the league, obviously they're going to concentrate on the league, not Europa League.
Yeah. Yeah, so with regards to our Europa League predictions, it's very much up in the air. We've got Champions League done, Premier League done. Moving on now, I'm going to quickly go through Championship, if that's all right, Finchy.
Go for it.
So I'm not going to do Championship relegation contenders because, honestly, I don't watch a lot of what goes on down the bottom of the league. I really mainly look at what's happening at the top to see who's in the Premier League for next year. Because obviously the Premier League is the league that I watch the most. Whether that's the same case for you, Finch, I'm guessing so.
Weirdly, I've been the opposite this year. I've been more interested in what's happening at the bottom. So
really?
I guess it's more because Ipswich, League One at the moment, League One last year. I've been tracking the teams which have gone up since last year from League One. And I've been looking at the bit what's happening at the bottom of the league. So I've been a bit more intrigued with that, to be honest. I have looked at the top 6 a bit because obviously Ipswich rivals being Norwich, I'm always intrigued with the results. It's nothing to do with me being obsessed with Norwich. It's just you naturally look at your rivals' results. It's naturally what happens. So I have looked at the top as well. So I'll provide a few predictions for both.
Oh, go on then. Go for it, man. You want to do your relegations first?
Okay, relegation. Well, firstly, Wycombe. Wycombe are third from bottom. They, to be honest, last year they went on a really good run. They started off really well and were in first for quite a while actually, and then and then tailed off a little bit more, but they're not overall. They're not a championship team. They had a really good year, but they're nowhere near championship standard, to be honest. And I think they will get found out this year. They're beating a couple of teams in the championship. The last two results they've actually beaten Birmingham and Sheffield Wednesday with 2 wins, but they're not good enough overall. Norwich, for example, beat them 2-1 and had a red card. Millwall beating them. Luton beat them 2-0. I just don't think they're championship quality, and I think they'll be found out as the season goes on. I think they'll be really pushed. I think the second team to go down will be Rotherham. Again, were in the championship last year. The Championship League One last year, went up via the playoffs, and again, I don't think their squad is actually sorry. They came up via second. What am I talking about? They were second in League One last year. I don't think their squad is good enough. Same thing with Wickham. Wickham went up via the playoffs. They were the one which went up to the playoffs, not Rotherham. I was talking Rotherham rubbish. But yeah, I think those two teams are almost definite. It's just because they're not good enough. They're frankly not good enough, and for Ipswich and Sunderland and some of the bigger teams, Portsmouth were last year in League One, that those teams went up.
Well, Rotherham are like, they go up and down every single season, it seems, don't they?
Yeah, they're a yo-yo team between League One and the Championship. So yeah, them two are my picks for going definitely down. The third one, I'm a bit tight pressed with that. People might say Coventry, another team which went up last year, but I think Coventry have actually got a really good group of players. That they were probably the best team I watched in League One last year for the most part, I'd say. So I can see them staying up. And I think actually it's probably benefited them this lockdown because they had a massive row over their stadium. They've been used to playing with basically no fans, playing at different stadiums here, there, and everywhere. So they're probably best coped than most teams around England for the situation with no fans in stadiums. So I wouldn't put Coventry in that. And the team I probably would go with is, I think it's going to be, let's have a little thing.
Barnsley?
Off the cuff. Barnsley are in for a shout, but I think they'll probably have enough to stay up, to be honest. Barnsley are a very, very solid championship team. I think they'll be in a cycle where Burnley had in the Premier League, where they do go down after a few years. They're never going to sustain a push going out of the league, and they eventually go down. But I think they'll just about stay up because they're a very, very solid championship team. I think it'll probably be a team such as QPR, which goes down, or Blackburn,
Blackburn, really?
Yeah, a lower level championship team. I think
Blackburn got such a good team, though, man.
They're quite low down the league, though. I think maybe not Blackburn. I was more just giving them as an example. Maybe leaning a bit more towards QPR. They sold their best player last year in Eze, and frankly didn't replace him. They've got a lot of good players in the team, but I think there'll be a team like QPR which does go down and joins Wickham and Rotherham. There's teams like Derby and Sheffield Wednesday in the bottom three at the moment, but they've got too much quality to stay in the bottom three, with obviously Derby having lots of Wayne Rooney and Sheffield Wednesday having the likes of Adam Reach. Jordan Rhodes is still there, Dominic Iorfa, Izzy Brown's even there, Barry Banham, Massimo Luongo. I'm pretty sure they're all still there. So they've got Jack Marrett as well, Sheffield Wednesday. I think they've got too much quality to go down. So it'll be interesting, very interesting to see, because I think that third place is open, more open than relegation in the 4 other divisions. I think in England, that third place. I think it's anyone's game that third place for relegation in the Championship. Like, I can't really pinpoint a team. I was hard pressed when I said QPR and Blackburn. I'm regretting saying both those names because I'm hard pressed who to pick, to be honest.
So I think Blackburn has such a good squad. It'll be Championship's always a very insane league. You know, a club who can sit literally rock bottom till Christmas can go up and challenge for the playoffs after that. There's a lot of games that go on in the Championship. We had 10 already. There's still another 36 games to go. There's a lot of points to be had. So really, anything can happen throughout the championship season. But I do agree. I think Wickham, Rotherham. I'd say Barnsley. Honestly, I think Barnsley will go down. But who knows, man? But looking to near the top of the table, I think it's a bit more easier to say. Maybe. I think going up as champions, right? I think will be Watford. They have their squad depth's bloody amazing for a championship. Their strike force of Sarr, João Pedro, they've got Andre Gray, Troy Deeney, and Glenn Murray all on their books. Like that's insane. They've still got Etienne Capoue in their midfield. That's absolutely fantastic. Tom Cleverley. I mean, Tom Cleverley wasn't the best Premier League midfielder, but I think he'd be a fantastic championship midfielder. They've still got quite good fullbacks. They've got Kiko Firmino. They've still got Ben Foster in goal. I can't see it that Watford do not go up. I just can't see it.
I agree. I see them as champions as well. Out of the 3 teams which got relegated, they've been the ones which have kept hold of most of their players. You see Bournemouth, the players they sold. I know they've still got a very good team and still in a good chance of making that top 6. I don't think top 2, but making that top 6. But they sold Ake, Wilson, Ramsdale, Arter. They let go Fraser as well. They're 5 players so crucial to them. And then Norwich let go 2 of their defenders who were so important to them going up and them doing anything in the league last year. They let go Godfrey and Jamal Lowe.
I think Norwich will go up. I think Norwich will end up being top 2 because even though they have let go of them, they've still kept quite a bit in their attack and they've still got Buendia, Campbell, Timu Puki, and Jordan Hugill as well. They've added to their book, and they've got Alex Tete as well, I believe.
Yeah, he's
and also Tim Krul in net. Tim Krul in net, a fantastic goalkeeper. Why didn't Sheffield United go for Tim Krul?
Exactly.
Just thinking about it, why didn't they go for Tim Krul? Absolutely fantastic keeper. So there's my top 2. The playoffs is a bit of a different breed because playoffs is really anyone's game. So I think going up through the playoffs could either be Bristol City. I think Bristol City are a team who deserve to be in Premier League. They've been up there for so many seasons now. You know, they're so close. However, I believe it could be Brentford's year. It's between Brentford and Bristol City for me. I think Bournemouth's going to miss out. I'll be honest with you. I think they'll miss out. I look at their team. I don't think they have good depth, but I don't think they have an amazing starting 11. I'll be honest with you. I'm not overly convinced by Dominic Solanke. So, but I think Ivan Toney is absolutely fantastic. He could be the one who gets Brentford into that playoff places without doubt. But Bristol City have Chris Martin. And Chris Martin is the man. He's a man on a mission. So it's between them 2, I think, for that final spot, Finch. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think it all depends who they're starting in January. If one of them grabs hold of this machine Will Keane from Wigan Athletic,
oh my God, no.
He's already scored a goal this season, so who knows what he can do.
Oh my God.
His first goal in a while.
Will Keane.
But yeah.
Oh my God.
In all seriousness, Will Keane won't help either. Whoever signs Will Keane is not going to make the top 6, let's be honest. And if they're signing Will Keane, something's definitely wrong. I think, in my opinion, completely agree. Watford, standout team. I know they're 4th at the moment. And they're 4 points behind Reading at top, but I think their standout team will come out on top by far. I think that making up the top 6 is going to be difficult because there's so many good teams in the Championship. It's almost a mini Premier League now. They're that good amount of teams there. Watford, the quality of their team in years gone by, 5 years ago, that's a mid-table Premier League team. The quality of the players there.
Exactly.
With likes of Isran Shah, Dave Feu, João Pedro, Ben Foster.
Dude, Will Hughes.
Yeah, Will Hughes. I think Dave Feu's gone, isn't he? I think he's gone to Udinese. But those kind of players, they're of Premier League quality, and I think that they'll come true as the season progresses. I think Bournemouth will be in that top 6, although they have lost quite a few players just because of the quality they have. I think Norwich will be as well. I don't think those two teams will be in the top two, though. I think Norwich will go for a spell around January where they may lose a player or two, and that will off their total charge. And I actually think Swansea are going to be second place team. I think they've got a player up front in Andre Ayew, who's potentially the best player in the league. He's that good. He shouldn't be at the Championship at all.
No,
I'm not really sure how is in that league. He's got 15 goals last year in the league. He's got 5 goals already this year. He's not out and out goal scorer. He's an unbelievable player, and I think he can push that team into second place. And they've got overall a really solid team. They've got Morgan Gibbs-White. They added him this year. They've still got the likes of Nathan Dyer actually, and they added Ryan Bennett to their team this year also, who was on loan at Leicester last year. Weirdly enough, solid centre back.
It was a very odd signing for Leicester, that was.
Yeah, solid centre back at Wolves, and I think players like that have the nous of the Championship, like Ryan Bennett, like Wayne Routledge, and they know how to get out of that league, like Carl Norton. They have bunches of experience in that league, and I think that will push them over the line. And also, they have potentially the best goalie, maybe outside of Bart from Millwall, in Freddie Woodman. I think he's a really good young goalie. And I think actually, we talked about Ramsdale before and Sheffield United going for him. I think they should have gone with Freddie Woodman. I think he's an outstanding goalie who's a young Englishman coming through. Maybe Newcastle wouldn't have let him go. That's the reason. I'm not completely sure, but I think Swansea have a very, very good chance in terms of getting second place. And then the playoffs, as you said, playoffs in the Championship, it's anyone's game, isn't it? Anyone's game is the playoffs, and I'm quite hard pushed for this. I know Norwich will have a decent chance, and I probably would give them a really good chance of making the final for that. But because I don't like Norwich, I'm not going to say they're going to win it. I'm not going to say they're going to go into the playoffs, even though if I put my objective mind into it, I probably would go with them. I'm going to say Brentford as well, just because of the standards of players and standard of play. They have year in, year out, and it seems like they always get very close to going up. They always get playoffs in the Championship. And then they go for a cycle of selling a few of their best players. So that means they can't push on and finish in the top two. Then they replace them with decent players, like they replaced Ollie Watkins with Ivan Toney. And that means they can
Well, they replaced Neil Maupay with Ollie Watkins, and look where it's gone.
Yeah. So they always finish top 6, but then they let go of those players, which mean they can't push on to. They never really push on to top 2 because they let go of a player and they replace them. They replace them very good, but sometimes with superior players. But just because the mould of the team changes every year, it means they can't sustain the title push, but always have enough quality to sustain getting in the top 6. But I think this year they're just going to do enough, I think. And I know they've lost 2 of their best players I can't pronounce his name, Benrahma. Absolutely outstanding.
Benrahma,
probably best player in the league last year, to be honest, in my opinion. They've lost him and they've lost Ollie Watkins, but they brought in Toney, which is going to get you bags of goals. And they've still got the likes of Janssen, they've still got Norgard, they've still got Canos, they've still got some key players from last year. And I think they're going to push on this year, and I think that they'll make the playoffs, and I fancy them to get a bit of luck this year and go up. They deserve it. So that's the Championship.
That's Championship, man. That's going to be an exciting season. That's going to be an exciting season. Do we quickly want to run through League One?
League One, I think League One's going to be a very, very interesting league, and I think we might as well just talk about the top of League One because the bottom of it is going to take a while to go through, and who knows what's going to happen there. We're going to bottom at the league at the moment, which is crazy. It's crazy considering a few years ago they were winning the FA Cup, and they've still got players like Joe Garner. It reminded me a bit of Bolton from last year, but Bolton has that big points deduction. But in terms of the top, there's about 7 or 8 teams you could go out. I think it all depends on form. They're big teams as well. You've got Ipswich, Peterborough, Charlton, Lincoln, Hull, Sunderland, Portsmouth. Teams which should be up in the Championship or Premier League. We're talking Ipswich, Hull, Sunderland, Portsmouth. And even Charlton, they've got bigger grounds than some of the Premier League teams, like Burnley.
Yeah.
And they've got bigger infrastructure, bigger fan bases than some of the Premier League teams, like Burnley. So I'm
What you
talking
got against
Burnley.
Burnley?
Yeah. so it will be very interesting this year. And the League One is, as I was saying about the Championship being a mini Premier League. League One is basically an extended version of the Championship, because the standard of League One has increased so much over the past years. People used to talk a lot about the Championship increasing the standard and becoming one of the best leagues in the world. League One's become an outstanding league. The amount of talent in League One now is absolutely outstanding. When you look at that Hull, the team they still have with the likes like George Honeyman and players like that, and Kevin Stewart, who they signed from Liverpool for quite big money not too long ago. It's an outstanding league, and Sunderland obviously still in that league. Sunderland have a 50,000 seat stadium. They've got likes of Danny Graham and players like that. So I think it'll be interesting. To be honest, I'm an Ipswich fan, so I'll be biased towards them, obviously. Yeah. But I was seeing the league last year. It was my first real experience of the league, with Ipswich going down. It's a crazy league, and the makeup of the top 8 changes week in, week out. All that top 8, they're very similar in quality. It's hard to separate them, to be honest. I know Peterborough are top at the moment, and Peterborough seem to always have a really good start and then tail off. So I think that probably happened. I think they make top 6. But they always seem to do that, and ultimately Peterborough are a selling club, so they won't be surprised they do sell a couple of players in January. But they've had a very good start. But they always do that. That's one thing I've noticed and heard from a lot of fans. Charlton, they've got an outstanding manager in Lee Bowyer, and I think I'd probably put them in my top 2 just because of the manager and the players they have with Lyle Taylor and Marcus Maddison. Oh, not Lyle Taylor, sorry. He's gone to Notts Forest, but Marcus Maddison, very astute signing, who was at Peterborough not too long ago, doing absolutely amazing for them. I'll probably put them in my top 2. I'm not sure if I'll finish first or second just because the manager. Ipswich, all the fans in the league always say Ipswich have got the best team in the league in terms of player by player. But Paul Lambert as a manager, I'm not completely sure on him. I can't really complain too much because they are second. They've lost the last 2 games, however, which is questionable, but they are second. And last night they did lose to Sunderland. But if anyone who watched the game and all the Sunderland fans, they did say Ipswich were all over them. And 2 decisions.
Were unlucky.
Yeah, 2 decisions.
A penalty in the 80. It wasn't even a red card offence, was it?
Yeah, no, not at all. If Ipswich already appealed it a minute or after the game, it was. Yeah. A lot of fans, Sunderland fans, saying the ref's giving them the game. It was atrocious. It's one of those games where just things are going against you. It was nothing to do with the performance. So Ipswich really, with the team they have, they've got a better chance this year because they're more consistent this year. Last year they were getting last minute goals, and at the beginning they were putting a cover over what was actually happening. There was a mist over the actual standard of play last year. They were first for quite a long period of time, but it didn't actually reflect the state of play and how Ipswich were in terms of their performances. So they were always going to go downhill. Whereas this year they're a lot more consistent. So I think they'll make top 6. And again, top 2 is not. I don't really know because it's such a weird league to talk about. But I think Ipswich will definitely make top 6, especially with the added acquisition of players like Stephen Ward. Players like that who've got international and Premier League experiences is invaluable.
Experience, yeah.
And they've still got Ipswich, still got players like James Norwood to come back in the frame. We've still got Kane Vincent-Young, who was inspired as a right back last year. Potentially the best right back in the league, probably ever. I'd say by far the best right back in the league. Actually, they've got Kenan Bennett. They signed on loan, who's hardly been used. He's on loan from Borussia Mönchengladbach. It's great youngster. He's hardly been used so far. I think Ipswich will get top 6. I'm pretty sure about that. Sunderland will definitely get top 6. They're a team of good quality. Hull again should get top 6. I can't choose between those teams who's going to go up. Again, Portsmouth I think will be in the top 6, but I think they're probably a little bit below the other teams I just mentioned, just because their quality isn't as high. In my opinion, but they will be there and there's a bounce. Lincoln again.
I don't know. I don't know, Finch, man. I think Ipswich could win it. I really do. I think they've got a fantastic
Really?
little team going on there. Yeah, I really do. Obviously, you got Charlton, who had a fantastic run this season.
Hmm.
Hull have a good team. Hull have a really good team. Sunderland always have a nice little squad or up there and thereabouts. But I don't know, some of Ipswich this year, I think they're gonna. I definitely think you're gonna get top two.
Hmm.
I definitely think you get top two.
Yeah. Well, you look at the squad. We've had at the start of this year. We're second in the league, and we've hardly played our best midfielder from last year, Finn, down due to speculation. He's been on the bench
Yep.
for the year. Kane Jackson's only returned to fitness because if he had COVID, he was linked to several teams. He hasn't even played, basically. James Norwood hasn't played. He's going to come back in the picture in the next couple of weeks. We've got these three players to come back, and they're out in the league. You look at the top 10 players; that they're probably three of the top 10 players in the league from last year. And in terms of quality as well, they're three. They're definitely in the top 20. So to have those players to come back, it's going to be a bonus for Ipswich and shows the quality they've got and depth they've got. We've got more depth than any other team. We've had this year. We've played a completely different midfield three than we did last year in Bishop, Gazelle, and Nolan. They hardly played last year, and they've been absolutely outstanding. And just to think the depth we've got Cole Skews, a championship midfielder for years. We've got Emir Hughes, another championship midfielder for years. Those two players aren't even playing. We've got Alan Judge as well. We've got Luke Wolfenden who's just come back in the squad, the team. Well, unfortunately, just got COVID, so he's out for a little while. We've got a centre back we've added to the ranks, Mark McGuinness from Arsenal on loan. Absolutely amazing since he's come in. So I'm going to be hesitant. I'm going to say top six just because I'm an Ipswich fan and I don't want to get my hopes up. But don't know what you feel if there any other teams you think are going to go up.
What from that league?
Yeah.
I'd say Ipswich and see. I was going to say Ipswich and Peterborough, right just then, but I feel like Sunderland should fluke it, man. I think Sunderland and Ipswich, and then playoffs will be Hull. Sunderland go up as champions. Peterborough, Lincoln, Portsmouth, Hull playoffs. Charlton to miss out.
So Ipswich second.
Ipswich second. Sunderland champions. Hull playoffs. And that's my predictions.
That's interesting.
We had some great predictions this podcast, man. I can't wait to come back in a few months and see how we're getting on, and also review at the end of the season how close or how spot on we was. We have to wait and see, Finchy.
I have to wait and see, but that was the prediction podcast done. We've got Premier League, Europa League, Champions League. Well, Europa League a little bit. Champions League, Championship, League One.
Even got some League One in there.
Another podcast over and out.